Here we're going to access species records. There's lots of different repositories that you can have a look at that. I've put some of the links there on Moodle. For this, we're going to look at UK records. So I'm going to be using the National Biodiversity Network, NBN Atlas, which is the online repository for species records within the UK. So, as it says, it's a collaborative project that aggregates biodiversity data from multiple sources, and it's freely available to anyone on here. So you can search and explore that without registering or logging in at all. But if you want to download data, you do need to create an account with them, which is free. So if you go to login, as you can see, my details are already there. I've already got an account. But if you don't have an account, you've got a little link there. It's a simple step to just register an email with them, and then you can log in and download the data that you want, which is cool. And like I said, there's similar schemes. I mean, there's some schemes that like got global biodiversity data. There's a huge amount of data out there. Learning how to deal with sometimes the size of the data sets is a challenge in itself. Right, so we're going to just be working with basking shark data for this. So I'm just going to put in there, search basking shark. And you can see it's got 3 things that have come up, but basically these are the same data sets. They're just been kind of registered differently, but you can see by the amounts, it is the same. So I'm just going to go with the top one, click on the occurrences, and it starts to show me the list of records that's within the database. Obviously, there's 23,000. It's not going to put them all on one page. So, the next step from there really is you can go to overview and download, and then go to download the data. And then you've got a big old Excel CSV file with all your sightings on it, which we'll have a look at in a minute. But I just wanted to point out a couple of other useful things. This has changed this year, it's updated. So there's some more useful features that you might want to have a look at. And I have by no means explored all of this, so there's probably a lot more that you can do with it that I haven't. So one of these is you can look at the map of where animals are, and you can actually then select records by location. So if you were only interested in basking sharks from Cornwall, for example, I didn't want that to download that huge old data set. I mean, you can obviously clip things in GIS after the event, but if you wanted to sort of narrow it down a bit, you could already. So you can see it's a weird one. It shows you grids basically that have got sightings in, and then as you sort of like zoom in and in, it shows you more and more of those. I think you can probably change it here. I haven't really played, but there is also an option to view in their spatial portal. So they've got an explorable map system online if you want to get a clearer view, but it's not quite so easy to download things on that. So again, I can, if you just want to, on this one, I can easily see where I can change it away from that grid system into points. So you just get actual points where basking sharks have been reported, as opposed to grids, UK grids, in which include the points. But again, as you zoom in, it goes to more and more focus on where basking sharks are. Anyway, so if I want my my southwest region, I might just play with this a little bit. So if I turn down the opacity, see it a bit better. Oh well, you can see where Cornwall is. Like I said, I'm still playing with this myself. So I'm going to draw a rectangle around my Cornish points, like so. And it's got, okay, look, 6,970 species records in this area, and I can go to search for records in this area. And now that's clipped that data set down to those 6,970, and I can download those instead of downloading all 23,000 if I don't want to. Actually, though, I do kind of want to have all of them. So I'm just going to go back a couple of steps if it will let me. To all of them, and actually go to download. So here it's got 2 different things. So species checklist, it's only really if you've got groups of species, so I think we can ignore that one. We just want the occurrence records. We select, and it's saying file name, what you're going to want to call it. I might just call it NBN. Simple spreadsheet format. Again, I haven't really explored all the options here, but I'm just going to go with those. I think the folder and call will have more layers to it, so I'm just going to stick with the simple spreadsheet and a CSV file output. And then it's asking why you want it. I'm going to have it for education. Accept the licensing. That means that those records in there can't be used for commercial purposes without permission. So if you're working for a consultancy and producing a report that you're being paid for, you would have to get permission to use this data. Okay, there is a legal obligation to do that, but obviously for educational points, for your projects or whatever you're doing assignments, there's no restrictions on that. Just for interest. So then it says your download is being queued, and then you will get an email to tell you that it's ready to download. Go to my email. I've got that coming through. It's saying download file has been generated. Please download from, and it gives you a link. So if I go to that, it takes me through to here, and it's then giving me the option to save that file, which I shall do. Asking me where, I'll put it in the downloads for a minute. Always make sure you know where your downloaded files are going to. That can be confusing. If I then, it shouldn't take too long because although it's got a lot of records, it's a CSV file, which are text files that aren't too hefty. So if I go to my downloads, I've got the file there. It's come down as a zip file. If I just extract that, if you're not sure about that, you should be able to right click either in Apple or in Windows and go to extract all to sort of unpack that zip file. And at the moment, I'm just going to keep it in my downloads folder. Again, you can send that unpacked file to wherever you want. Obviously, at the end of the day, you want that CSV file within your project folder that you're working on so that you can keep it there for using with GIS and things. So we've got several different files in there. We've got how to cite that. So if you're writing up in a report, you can cite where you've got the data from. It's got a list here which is telling you about the headings in the data, and it can be useful to look at these things because it might have information. If you look at, I'll show you the data, but this is basically all the column names in your data set, and it's explaining what they are. So if you've got something you're like, what does that mean? Okay, it's got a description there. Let's go back and just open that main data, which is the Baskers NBN. This is the one we're interested in. Okay, so we've got our 23,000 odd things. A lot of this you're not going to need, but it's got basically our species name, our common name, and then start date. You can see it's done a funny thing where it's gone hashtags. That just means that my column's not wide enough to show the date. Okay, so if you just stretch that out, you can see them. There's a funny date there that's going to cause problems for that column of data. So we take our start date. We've got, importantly, our latitude and longitude so that we can put that into GIS if we want to. And then it's got identification quality. So you can see some of them are confirmed, some of them aren't. Human observations, how they've been recorded, who the data provider is, and lots of other information there, most of which, to be honest with, we'll probably be getting rid of when we're working with it. So that, the important things for us are when it was seen, where it was seen, and that's it. At the moment, we're not interested in other things. Obviously, if you're writing a commercial report, if you're doing your project, you might want to go into the detail and who's recorded it and things a bit more to be more sure of the quality of the data. But we're just playing to see what we can achieve with this. So we've got our data and we're good to go.